I had somebody the other day make a comment to me, and their comment was, now mind you, listen folks, I realize that I don't have to answer any of these comments that come from stupid, nonsensical, idiotic people. But believe me, I understand it. But that's not the purpose of the reason why that I choose. Did you hear what I said? I said I choose to answer some of these questions. The main reason why I choose to answer some of these questions, because you know what it does? It gives me the opportunity to strengthen the people out there who may have aspirations of at least attempting or doing what I've been doing almost 20 years. Now, what I'm addressing here is this. Somebody had made a comment and they said, well, Pastor Dowell, I know you live on the community and everything, but you sure do have a nice house. Yes, I do. I sure do. I think I have a very nice house. Now, when you come to see my house, it's not something that you're going to look at twice because it's a very humble house. After all, I built it myself. And what you see on the inside of that house, I built it myself, if you understand what I mean. I did, along with a few other brethren to help me along. I laid the blocks. I did the dirt work. I did the backhoe work. Did a lot of the framing. I had a couple of brothers like Elder Doug and them that did the electricity and stuff like that. But I built this house. But before I got to that home, I had read the Bible and I looked into it. And I had went to, the Apostolic Church, the old bishop, and asked him, and why come we're not doing this right here? And of course he said it ain't gonna never work. So I thought, if we have that kind of attitude about the Bible, we just cherry pick the scriptures and pick and choose what's going to work and what's not going to work, what is truth and what's not going to truth based on an opinion, then we might as well just be like any other religion out there in the world. So I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And what I'm talking about is I actually purchased some land. And on that land, I had very, 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 very humble beginnings. I got a wife and 2 children. At the time, they were very small, young. And I started selling everything that I had. When I moved out on this land, I started finding old trailers. Old beat-up trailers that I paid $200-300 for. It cost more to move them than what they're worth. And I would make runs back and forth to Home Depot to try to fix these trailers up as best as I could. Well, anyway, I had a bunch of people that were willing to come and help me, and not only that, but be a part of the community in our very humble beginnings. And most of you don't know that Pastor Dowell lived without running water in his house in these modern times right here for 9 years. Did y'all hear what I said? Our bathroom, myself, my wife, and my children, our bathroom was a bucket. And what we did was we took some plywood, built a box, took a toilet seat, and we screwed it down to the plywood. We put a 5-gallon bucket in there, make sure it was secure, put some Camper Clim in there, and that's how we used the bathroom for 9 years. And I built a shower house on the community, but I didn't have running water in my house for 9 years. And for the first part of those 9 years, what I did was every time I got a new building in or something like that, if I bought a trailer and spent a lot of money on it or whatever, I would put the saints up in the best that we had, and I would take the worst. Myself and my wife and my children, we would take the worst. I learned how to build decks. I started learning how to do all this on the community. And so I wouldn't build me a deck. We had cinder blocks stacked up, and I would build all the saints decks. And then that's one thing I started discovering about people. When you have people that are ungrateful, unthankful, and unholy, no amount of providing, no amount of provisions, when they have an entitlement mentality, there ain't nothing you can do to satisfy a double-minded person who's unstable, because nothing is ever good enough. It got to the point, because I was living next to the creek, I had too much water because I was living next to the creek. That's how we would take a bath. I got a bathtub because I didn't know how to do plumbing. I drilled a hole through the floor. I put like an 1.5-inch flexible pipe underneath it and ran the gray water out over into the little small garden plot that we had. But we would bring 2 5-gallon buckets of water from the creek and pour it in that tub, and that's how we would take a bath. And the tub wasn't secure at all. That's how I lived. We talking about in the 2000s. I'm not talking about 40, 50, 60 years ago. So that was great sacrifice that I had. But I learned one thing about humanity and people is that you can't satisfy an ungrateful and unthankful people. And no matter what you do, nothing is ever good enough. I've got people on my community right now that has never had their rear end on a squatting over a bucket or in a pee bucket. Can you imagine that? And I got people out there in the community that has been doing it ever since they've been there. Then I got people out there that they couldn't fathom ever doing that, which don't make no difference to me, but I'm just trying to state facts here. So I've been there, done that. I had all the humble beginnings and stuff, and now here we are years later. We've built a few homes, viable homes like you would see going up down the road right here. I mean homes on the community that people inhabit and stay in. They have all the final luxuries in life, everything. But myself from the very beginning, that wasn't so. I didn't have what you would call running water and all this other stuff. I've always been what you would call a humble man, but very appreciative. But the one thing I've learned over the years is that when you got people that have defiled spirits and very unthankful and ungrateful, it's amazing, because I was noticing that as soon as I would get around to trying to do something for myself and my family, that these people will start murmuring, complaining because the provisions that I made and all the money I spent on fixing up their home, because they didn't have a righteous attitude and spirit, they would tear up the home, tear up the house, tear up everything, and their children run around like a bunch of jungle rats, porch monkeys, and everything else. And it was just a sad thing. And I found myself spending more resources. So, make a long story short, those people are no longer here, and I'm glad they're gone, and they'll never come back again, and there'll never be a place for them ever again. But since then, our quality of life has improved, and is continuing to improve each and every year. And that's the reason why I make the videos, to show you. I built my own cabinets in the house. I laid the whole entire hardwood floor. I did all that. And I got brethren here now that assist and help very greatly. So when you see me doing a lot of this stuff, I've actually learned it out in the community. And I would rather take money and save it and then buy a bunch of building material and store it up in the wintertime. That's what you do, so that you'll be ready to build in the summer, but you don't have to pay them extraordinary prices when everybody's trying to build and they're doubling stuff. OSB right now, just the other day when I was at Home Depot in Bowling Green, was $7.25, $7.50 a sheet. But hey, every time they have a storm, so that stuff was up to close to $18 a sheet. And that's just ridiculous for OSB. But I'm trying to tell you that, most people, while they murmur and complain and they're critical in judgment about me, they know nothing about me. They know nothing about my lifestyle. They know nothing about where I've been and where I've gone. But irrelevant. Hey, it's totally irrelevant. But what it's about is about strengthening you people to know, to let you see the type of sacrifice it's going to take. See, a lot of times we have to be willing to endure a little bit of pain now just to enjoy and have a little bit of pleasure later. Most people are not willing to do that. And that's just a fact. But I'm not about to give place to anybody who is ungrateful and unthankful and unholy. Been there and done that. No way, shape, fashion, form. And that's all there's to it. I got another small community down in Georgia that we stick a lot of resources in, and we still have to stick more resources in to continue to keep developing that place. But those are grateful people down here, and we got our eyes on other things that we're trying to build up for the saints. Because in my life personally, I think you get pleasure out of what you do with your hands, the work of your hands. But this is about not only you, but it's about people, because whatever you do in life is going to echo throughout all of eternity.